In 1929, deep inside the archives of Istanbul's Topkapi Palace, a dusty scroll was pulled from a forgotten shelf. At first glance, it seemed ordinary, an old parchment covered in faded ink and curious drawings. But what it revealed would soon challenge everything we thought we knew about our planet's history. It was a map, not just any map, but a world map drawn by an Ottoman admiral named Piri Reis in the year 1513. To the scholars who studied it, it looked like a masterpiece of early cartography. The coastlines of Europe, Africa, and South America were all there, meticulously drawn with remarkable accuracy. But then they noticed something impossible. At the very bottom of the map, a landmass appeared, a vast curving coastline stretching beyond South America. It looked familiar, too familiar. It was Antarctica. But how? Antarctica wasn't officially discovered until 1820, more than 300 years after Piri Reis drew his map. And even then, it was buried under 2 miles of solid ice. Yet on this map, it appeared free of ice, with rivers, mountains, and valleys clearly drawn. How could someone in the early 1500s have mapped a continent that hadn't even been discovered? And more shockingly, one that no human had ever seen without ice. The mystery deepened. When historians translated the notes scribbled along the edges of the map, they found something even stranger. Piri Reis admitted that he hadn't drawn it from scratch. He claimed it was a compilation, pieced together from dozens of older maps, handed down through generations. Some, he said, came from the time of Alexander the Great. Others, he wrote, were copied from ancient sources that no longer exist. That statement stunned researchers. If what he said was true, it meant the map contained knowledge far older than any known civilization, knowledge that shouldn't have survived. For centuries, the map remained an oddity, hidden away in libraries and museums, occasionally whispered about but never fully understood. Then, in 1953, an American historian named Charles Hapgood decided to investigate it more closely. Hapgood was no ordinary scholar. He believed the Earth's history was far more complex than we realized. When he compared the Piri Reis map with modern surveys of Antarctica's subglacial terrain, what he found was breathtaking. The contours matched. The mountains, the valleys, even the shape of the coastline beneath the ice, all of it aligned perfectly with modern seismic data. Whoever drew the original map had seen Antarctica before it was covered in ice. Modern geology tells us that Antarctica has been frozen for more than 6,000 years. So whoever charted it must have done so long before recorded history, before the rise of Egypt, before Sumeria, before we even knew civilization existed. Hapgood was stunned. He proposed a radical theory that the Earth's crust may have shifted thousands of years ago, moving entire continents to new positions. In his view, Antarctica may once have been in a warmer latitude, a habitable land, home to an advanced seafaring civilization that vanished when the crust moved. He called it the Earth crust displacement theory, and though it sounded impossible, one man took him seriously: Albert Einstein. Einstein reviewed Hapgood's work and wrote back saying, "Your idea is of great interest and merits the most careful investigation." If Einstein thought it was worth considering, maybe it wasn't so crazy after all. But Hapgood's theory only deepened the riddle, because when he looked at other ancient maps, like the Orontius Phineas map of 1531 and the Boachi map of 1737, they too showed an ice-free Antarctica. All of them drawn centuries apart, somehow depicting a land no one had ever seen. Coincidence? Perhaps. But how could multiple cartographers, living in different centuries, all guess the same impossible details, down to the mountains buried beneath the ice? To Hapgood, the conclusion was clear. There must have been an earlier civilization, one capable of mapping the world long before the dawn of our own. A civilization lost to time, perhaps destroyed by the same global catastrophe remembered in flood myths around the world. If true, it would mean our story as humans didn't begin 6,000 years ago. It began much earlier, and somewhere along the way, we lost everything. Legends from every continent speak of it: the Great Flood, the fall of Atlantis, the gods descending from the sky to teach mankind. What if these weren't myths, but memories? What if the Piri Reis map is one of the last surviving clues, a message from an age before history, telling us that human civilization once reached heights we can barely imagine? Piri Reis himself seemed to know he was preserving something ancient. In one corner of the map, he wrote, "These maps were drawn according to the words of the ancient seafarers." Who were those ancient seafarers? No one knows, but their knowledge of the world was centuries, maybe millennia, ahead of its time. Even today, the Piri Reis map refuses to be explained away. Some call it proof of Atlantis. Others say it's evidence of extraterrestrial contact. Skeptics dismiss it as coincidence. But one truth remains. It shouldn't exist, and yet it does. Maybe it's a fragment of a forgotten chapter of human history. Maybe it's a warning, a reminder of how much we've lost. Or maybe it's an invitation to look deeper into the past, to question everything we've been told, and to remember that sometimes the greatest discoveries aren't new. They're rediscovered truths buried beneath the sands of time. Because history, it seems, is far older and far stranger than we've ever dared to imagine. They called it the Piri Reis map, a relic that shouldn't exist, yet somehow it does. A whisper from a forgotten age preserved in parchment and ink, quietly defying everything we thought we knew about human history. But the map itself was only the beginning. As scholars began to study it deeper, strange details began to surface. Faint annotations, cryptic coordinates, even drawings of creatures and continents that didn't fit into the known world of the 1500s. And in those faint markings lay a secret that would spark decades of controversy. One note, written in ancient Ottoman Turkish, referred to maps drawn in the time of Alexander. Another claimed to have been copied from charts older than memory itself. In other words, the Piri Reis map wasn't a product of its time. It was a copy of something far older. That realization alone changed everything. If true, then fragments of human knowledge far older than the Egyptians or Sumerians had somehow survived, passed down generation after generation through forgotten ages. But who had made the originals? No one could say for sure. Yet one theory began to form, a theory that sent shivers through the scientific world. The deeper experts analyzed the map, the more impossible it became. It didn't just depict the familiar outlines of South America and Africa. It also portrayed a third continent to the south, Antarctica. But here's the unsettling part. On this map, Antarctica wasn't covered in ice. It showed rivers, mountains, valleys, an ice-free land that modern science confirmed hasn't existed for over 6,000 years. In the 1950s, historian Charles Hapgood took this map and compared it with seismic data from the U.S. Air Force. He expected to debunk it. Instead, what he found left him speechless. The coastline of Antarctica on the Piri Reis map matched the land beneath the ice, not the ice itself. The contours, the ridges, even the shape of the subglacial mountains were correct. Something no one in 1513 could possibly have known. It was as if whoever made the original maps had seen the Earth from above, from a vantage point far beyond the reach of any sailor or explorer of that time. Hapgood developed what he called the Earth crust displacement theory. He proposed that thousands of years ago, the outer shell of the Earth suddenly shifted, moving entire continents into new positions. Antarctica, he believed, had once been further north, a lush, habitable land, home to an advanced seafaring civilization that vanished when the crust moved. It sounded absurd, but then something unexpected happened. Albert Einstein himself read Hapgood's manuscript, and instead of dismissing it, he wrote back saying, "Your idea is of great interest and merits the most careful investigation." If even Einstein thought the question was worth asking, maybe we weren't dealing with myth after all. The more researchers looked, the stranger it became. Other maps from the same era, the Orontius Phineas map, the Boache map, showed the same thing. Antarctica, ice-free, detailed with mountains and rivers, long before radar or satellite imaging existed. Coincidence? Maybe. But how do you explain multiple maps, drawn centuries apart by different people, all depicting the same impossible detail? Some claim it's evidence of an ancient global civilization. one advanced enough to chart the entire planet before history began. Others whisper of something even stranger, contact with beings from beyond this world, who share their knowledge with humanity before disappearing. And then there are those who believe it's proof of the Great Flood, the moment that wiped the world clean, destroying whatever culture came before. If Hapgood was right and Antarctica was once ice-free, that means human beings, or something like us, were capable of global navigation thousands of years before the first pyramids rose in Egypt. How could they have done it? Some say they mastered astronomy and geometry to a level we still don't fully understand. Others suggest technology, ships, instruments, perhaps even machines, that have long since been lost to the sea. All that remains are faint traces, ruins that don't fit into our timelines, stone structures with impossible precision, legends of gods descending from the sky to teach man the art of navigation and architecture. What if they weren't gods at all? What if they were simply survivors? Survivors of a world before ours, a civilization erased not by time, but by catastrophe. A world swallowed by ice and memory, leaving behind whispers like the Piri Reis map, waiting to be rediscovered. Even today, under the ice of Antarctica, scientists continue to uncover strange anomalies. Heat signatures beneath the frozen surface, massive geometric shapes buried deep within the continent, ancient lakes sealed off for millions of years. Are we about to find proof of that forgotten civilization? Or something we're not ready to understand? The deeper we dig, the more it feels like the Earth is hiding something, a truth too vast, too ancient, too disruptive to fit neatly into our history books. When Piri Reis drew that map in 1513, he claimed it came from the ancient seafarers. Who were they? How far had they traveled? And what did they see before the world changed forever? The answers may lie not in the future, but in the past, buried under centuries of ice, waiting for us to remember. Because sometimes the most mysterious discoveries aren't found in space, but beneath our own forgotten world. And the Piri Reis map, that impossible parchment drawn by a man who should not have known, might just be the key to unlocking everything we've lost.